Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope y'all have been doing well. I've had a lot of requests about tools, so here we go. This is the bag that I use. It's called a Vito Pro Pack. It's not cheap. It is pretty expensive, but it is well worth it once you get going because it gives you a professional appearance and it also allows you to hold a ton of tools, which you will see. Before I open that, let me show you. I've got a couple of EDCs that I use, whether I'm at work or not, but these are super handy at work. So the first is just an out the front knife. This thing is super handy because you've got another hand free. I can just grab it from my pocket, in and out. This is the Lightning Elite. So you can look that up. When I got it, it was about 35 bucks or so. So you can abuse this thing. You're not going to be out tons of money if you break it. I've had this over a year and it works great. I had to add some WD-40 one time because it started getting sticky, but great knife, pretty good blade, something that you can sharpen and it'll hold an edge for a while. So highly recommend that. This is one of my favorite tools. This is an Olight flashlight. It has a magnetic piece that attaches here real easily. So when you're driving, you can have that somewhere on your dash, just put it near it, boom, attaches to it and charges. So every stop that I have in between, I'm charging this, but it still holds. I mean, I can get over a week on this easily. You've got different modes of lights. You've got a UV light. Some of these actually will use a laser pointer. Like if you wanted to show a customer something with a laser pointer, I've got one of those as well. But highly recommend this as well. One feature about this is you can attach it to your hat and then your hands free. Super useful tool. So as you progress, you're going to want to get good tools, and these are two very useful ones. Now, the bag here. You don't need a super expensive bag. You want your bag to look clean. You want to be able to hold your stuff. But as time goes on, I have found that getting very top quality tools and equipment makes a big difference in presentation. It makes a big difference in the quality of work that you can offer. When you're working with a screw that's hard to get out, if you have a screwdriver that's machined really well and that doesn't have soft metal that's just going to start bending and twisting, that makes a big difference, right? So high quality tools are something that you're going to want to look to get and acquire over time, but you don't need them at first. Okay, so full disclaimer there. You're going to see some high quality tools in here, that all of these I'm going to recommend, but you can get by with some less expensive things in the short term. 90% of the work that I do comes from this bag. So I do have some specialty tools that I'll do another video on, things like transfer pumps or different types of shop vacs, an air sled, things that you're not going to need most of the time, but they do come in really handy. So let's go to our main stuff. So you're going to want some type of electronic screwdriver. I don't know that they make this one anymore. I love it. I have several of them. It's a gyroscopic DeWalt screwdriver. It works very well. I can go through sheet metal with it. I can go through wood if I'm mounting a dishwasher. Quick detach 1/4-inch bits. You don't need this one. And again, I don't know that they make it anymore. But you can get some sort of lightweight 1/4-inch driver that's battery operated, and you're going to want that. It's going to save your wrist. You don't want to get carpal tunnel in the future. So some type of nut driver that will move quickly for you that you can get into a small bag. So let me go ahead and just pull out all of this side here. I'll show you these. All right. So you're going to want some sort of magnetic parts tray. This helps you keep track of screws, nut drives, nuts when you pull them out. This one I like. It's Sandor. I bought it off of Amazon. Just has a little magnet in the bottom. It folds so it's flat so you can get it into a bag pretty easily. And it's a good presentation when you are taking a bunch of screws out of something. When customers see that you're keeping it consolidated, there's just this feeling of, I trust this guy, right? He's keeping track of everything. He's not working haphazardly. So these I highly recommend. This is a metal pry bar. It's got a little curve on the end. It's very, very tough. So This is really good in a lot of situations. One in particular, if I'm taking off the top of a front load washer, these are helpful because sometimes you have a bunch of soap residue and scum that makes it really sticky and you can't slide it off very well. Well, you slide this, up at the front and kind of pry a little bit, this will get it off. And so this has a million uses, but I recommend some sort of pry bar. As far as pliers, I am a big fan of Knipex, Knipex, however you want to say it. That German brand, they make the best quality pliers that I have found. So these are some needle nose ones. I use this almost every job. These are great for getting terminals off. You've got a wire cutter, high quality tool. So highly recommend those. Temperature gun, you're going to be using this all the time, variety of settings. So you want a decent quality IR gun. And so that works. This right here is the multimeter that I use. I've gone through a lot of different multimeters. I highly, highly recommend this one. So I'll show you the functions that it has. First, it's super compact. This is a field piece. So a lot of HVAC tools are very good for what we do. And so if you'll look on here, you'll see all of these settings here. I can do amps AC, I can check DC and AC voltage, I can check microfarads for capacitors, I can check diodes, I can do resistance and continuity, I can check to see if voltage is present, I can check temperature. So these functions are 100% of what I need in what I do in appliance repair. So I highly recommend this one. You're going to want some type of little specialty bit case, right? You've got security bits and different things. So this one's by DeWalt, super small. You're going to use this a lot with dishwashers or just sometimes, especially the German-made machines, they like to use different types of bits. And so this is super helpful to have. This right here is helpful when you're trying to check amperage, right? And so whether you're checking a defrost circuit or whatever, this can allow you at times not to have to take apart a machine. You plug this into the wall, you attach your meter onto it and set it to volts AC, and then you can run different tests and see the amperage that you're getting through that circuit. And so this is super helpful. All right, let's go to the other side here. Here you can see I've got a lot of different screwdrivers. I've got pliers and different things. So I'm a fan of PB Swiss. They're more expensive for their screwdrivers, but again, the machine quality and the way these heads last, to me, it's worth it. So you can get by with a cheap, you can go to a thrift store and get a cheap screwdriver. That'll get you through. But eventually, higher quality stuff I find does make a difference. And I love these PB Swiss. So I keep a flathead and actually a couple flatheads and a couple Phillips heads. Here is another, this is a little putty knife. I use this to get into washers and dryers that have the little spring clips. These are great. This is also really good for dishwashers with the insulation. So when you pull a dishwasher out, a lot of times that insulating blanket, it does not want to go back in very well. This slides it right in. You just go right around the side and then work it in a little bit, do a little bit more. So this is a must-have. You need some sort of little putty knife. You don't have to have these, but these are super helpful. This is designed to take hoses off of a washing machine. So it gives you a little bit more reach because of how it cuts out there. So when you're working behind and you don't have a lot of clearance, which is some of those, you can use a channel lock, right? So these are some more Knipex ones that I have. You can use that, but you're kind of at an angle when you use it. This, you don't have to be. And so it's just easier, especially when you're dealing with those plastic threads. You don't want to strip them. And so I like these. They're cheap. You can get them off of Amazon. This right here, you're going to need, right? There are plenty of places where you can't quite get in. And I'll show you what this does. This is a 90 bit or a 90 quarter-inch angle driver. So I can get in places like this and it just allows me to get in a tight spot, right? And there's another one that is actually comparable to it. Let me show you. This one right here. This is a handheld one. This is by Klein, and I really like this one, but it allows you to ratchet, 1/4-inch bits with your hands. So you can be in some pretty tight spots, and this works great. A box cutter, razor blade. These are nice to have. I don't use it that often just because of my knife that I carry. Super easy to pull out, so I don't use this a lot, but there are times where that's been helpful. So I'd keep a blade on you like that. Here are a couple of pry bars. These are plastic ones. So when you're working, say, with a refrigerator, say that front cover where the little ice dispenses out and all of that, these are super helpful to get that off because it's going to be delicate around that. You don't want to scratch. You don't want to use something metal around there. So these are really great for getting those plastic clips off. Some of the Whirlpool top mount control boards and stuff, this can be really easy or really helpful getting those off. So these are marketed for basically car interiors to take those apart. So you can find them at automotive stores, you can find them at Amazon, but these are really helpful. This right here is the Klein like 11-in-1 nut driver. Super helpful. I use this not for like a Phillips head attachment or a flat head attachment as much. This has a 1/4-inch, a 5/16, and a 3/8 inch nut driver on it. So these are super helpful when, say, you're working underneath those washing machines that are Whirlpool built and they have like the 6 LED lights on it. You go underneath it and you want to get that plastic housing cover off so you can get to the actuator and the splutch assembly and all of that. You can do that with this. And so it's nice to just pull this out, be able to undo those couple of screws real quick and get to it. You do have another alternative to that. Let me see if I can find it here. I'll pull it out in a second here. But here are some other pliers that I have. Sometimes you're going to want at least 2 channel locks of some sort. The brand I like is Knipex, right? But these sometimes, like say you're working with a dishwasher or there's the inlet valve assembly. Sometimes changing those out, you need 2 of them to hold it because your hand, you just can't hold it tight enough to turn off the one. So you need 2 to hold it. So having 2 of these comes in handy more often than you can think. I actually have 4 of them. I do 2 smaller ones, 2 bigger ones. Picks. These are going to come in super, super handy. Okay. Washing machine wash plates, trying to get coins out of that ring, to if you have an evaporator assembly behind, in the freezer compartment or refrigerator compartment and it's not wanting to pop off real well, you can get this back in one of those holes and kind of pull it out. I can't tell you how often I use these things for things you wouldn't think about. So a pick assembly is definitely something you're going to want. This is a really, really good screwdriver. I've read some reviews. This is a Williams brand, about $50 or so on Amazon. It has a back end where you can keep a bunch of bits in there, and then the ratcheting aspect of this is super smooth. So I've read reviews where Snap-on has something that's very, very similar to this, and so they probably copied Snap-on, but this, by most reviews, is comparable in quality to that Snap-on, and it's not nearly as expensive. So I use this a lot. I keep a little Torx star bit in here that I use as my go-to when I go to a washing machine that has a lid switch. Those Whirlpool-based ones have this. And so I'll undo that real quick, put that down in the lid lock so that I can see what's going on when I'm testing the machine. So having something that you use a lot that's easy to grab, you can go to your work. This has been super helpful. Wire strippers, again, Knipex, right? I have not found any that are as easy to cut the insulation. This quarter turn and you can strip it right off. And so you don't need this. You know, all of us have used cheaper wire strippers and you can get by with that. You can get by with a razor blade if you need to. But as you're able to, investing in higher quality tools is helpful. And so highly, highly recommend this Knipex wire stripper. So a magnetic part grabber. This is super helpful. You're in a tight spot with a washing machine and a dryer and you drop a screw. You got this, you don't have to pull everything out, you can grab it. So you're gonna want that. I only use it once or twice a month, but when I have it or when I need it, super, super thankful that I have this. This right here is super helpful to have these snips. The way that it's designed, there are some clamps that go underneath some washer or some dishwashers. This cuts those off, as well as if you have a new one, we'll clamp it back on. And then when you need to cut through metal, you need to get a screw. Like, this thing is just built like a tank. And so having this is super, super helpful. So highly recommend that as well. This is a crimp. So these crimps are super helpful. It's really nice to have something you can really, clamp down on and make sure that the terminal that you put onto a wire is super secure. So this is something that you'll want as well. I have some other things. So sometimes I have something that has a bigger nut that I need to get off. And so this Klein right here has a bunch of different nut sizes on it. And this one's a little bit stuck, so I need to work that off. But I use this maybe 5 times a year, so it prevents me from having to go back out to my van to get a socket set. And so having some basic socket sizes with you is really helpful. And so I've got that. I also keep some jumpers that I make. If you're jumping an ice maker or just a component like a fuse, and you just want to make sure that the machine operates well. I had a dishwasher last week that had a fuse that was blown on the control board. I was able to bypass it with this so that I could test the rest of the functions on the dishwasher to make sure that there wasn't something that was causing that fuse to blow. And on that one in particular, they had roaches, and so that roach excrement had shorted out that board, at least to the point where that fuse blew. So we cleaned all that up and we're able to get that working again and figure out that it was just that fuse. So jumpers are something that you're going to want. That's about it as far as the tools that I carry. I also do have some strong magnets that I keep. This can be helpful for, I put some felt on the back side of these, but these are helpful. These are neodymium, so they're pretty strong. But I use these for refrigerators. If you want to make the fridge think the door is closed, many fridges, you can use these on it. And so then you can work on the machine while it thinks the doors are closed. And so that can be helpful in some situations there. So if you have any questions, let me know. But this is my basic tool setup. I recommend 100% of these tools. You don't need 100% of these. You may have some tools that you find work better than what I have. And if you do, I would love to hear it, because I love tools. So if you have found things that work well for you, let me know. I might be interested. Any other questions, let me know. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your likes, your comments. We really appreciate that. And we'll keep bringing you some good content. Have a good day.